What if everything you thought about love, relationships, and even age gaps was shaped by culture rather than truth? What if the Bible has something deeper to say about this than what most people assume? Age gap relationships have always been a topic of debate. Some see them as perfectly natural, while others raise eyebrows, questioning the motives or the dynamics at play. But here's the real question. What does the Bible actually say about it? Is there a divine rule against it? Or have we just been conditioned to view it a certain way? Stick with me, because by the end of this, you'll have a clear biblical perspective on age gap relationships, one that goes beyond opinions and dives straight into what God's Word actually teaches. First, let's clear the air. Nowhere in the Bible does it explicitly say, "Thou shalt not marry someone who is significantly older or younger than you." It's just not there, and that alone should make us pause and ask, so where does the controversy come from? Because if God had a strict rule about it, wouldn't He have made it clear? Now, before you assume that the Bible is silent on the matter, think again. While there's no verse saying this is right or this is wrong, there are plenty of examples of marriages and relationships with significant age differences. And interestingly, these relationships were not condemned. In fact, some played key roles in biblical history. Take Abraham and Sarah, for example. Their age gap was around 10 years, yet their marriage was foundational in God's covenant plan. Then there's Ruth and Boaz. Boaz was noticeably older than Ruth, so much so that he even mentioned it himself when he said, "You have not run after the younger men, whether rich or poor." Ruth 3:10. And yet their union was not only honored, but became part of the lineage leading to Jesus himself. So, why do some people still push back against age gap relationships today? Most of it has to do with modern social norms. Society's views on relationships have shifted dramatically over time. In the past, marrying someone older or younger was often practical, based on survival, protection, or economic stability. But today, with personal choice and emotional compatibility being emphasized, people tend to view age gaps through a different lens. Does that mean caution isn't needed? Of course not. Just because something isn't forbidden doesn't mean it's always wise in every situation. The Bible does emphasize wisdom, love, and mutual respect in relationships. The key question isn't necessarily, is there an age gap? But rather, is this relationship built on godly principles? Think about Solomon, the wisest man who ever lived. He had relationships that, despite his wisdom, led him away from God. And it wasn't because of age. It was because he allowed his relationships to influence his faith in the wrong direction. That's a critical lesson. If an age gap relationship is rooted in lust, control, or anything unhealthy, then the problem isn't the age difference. It's the foundation of the relationship itself. Another thing to consider is maturity. The Bible speaks a lot about wisdom and discernment in choosing a partner. A huge age gap isn't automatically bad, but if one person is significantly more mature, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually, it could lead to an imbalance. That's where wisdom comes in. At the heart of it all, the Bible calls us to love, respect, and honor each other in relationships. It reminds us to seek God first, to build relationships on trust and faith, and to avoid anything that could lead us into unhealthy dynamics. Age is just a number, but the values that hold a relationship together, those matter deeply. So, if the Bible doesn't condemn age gap relationships, how should we approach them? What makes a relationship truly God-honoring? Beyond just the number of years between two people, let's go deeper. When two people come together in a relationship, the focus should always be on values, not just age. The Bible repeatedly emphasizes wisdom, mutual respect, and spiritual alignment over external factors. Think about it. Would God care more about someone's birth year or about the way they love, serve, and grow together in faith? Paul gives us a powerful relationship principle in 2 Corinthians 6:14. Do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. While this verse specifically addresses believers and non-believers, it reveals something deeper. Spiritual alignment matters more than anything else. If two people are walking in different directions spiritually, the relationship will suffer, no matter their ages. This is where many people get it wrong. They focus on societal standards. Oh, he's too old for her, or she's too young for him. But they ignore the real question. Are they equally yoked in faith, values, and purpose? Now, does that mean age is irrelevant? Not necessarily. There are practical considerations. A significant age difference can bring unique challenges, different life stages, health concerns, even social perceptions. But here's the truth. Every relationship has challenges. What matters is how those challenges are handled. Think about Ruth and Boaz again. Boaz was older, but what made their relationship honorable wasn't their age difference, it was their character. Boaz was a man of integrity, kindness, and protection. Ruth was a woman of loyalty, faith, and humility. Their relationship was built on godly principles, not just attraction or convenience. And that's what we should focus on in any relationship. The real danger in relationships isn't an age gap. It's when one person is using or manipulating the other. It's when there's an imbalance of power, when one person isn't emotionally or spiritually mature enough to handle the commitment, or when a relationship is built on selfish motives rather than mutual love and respect. That's where problems arise. Proverbs 4:7 tells us, "Wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom, and with all thy getting get understanding." Wisdom is what keeps a relationship healthy. If two people, regardless of their ages, are genuinely seeking God, acting in wisdom and treating each other with respect, the relationship has a solid foundation. But let's be real. Society has a way of making people feel uncomfortable about things, even when there's no biblical basis for it. A couple with an age gap might face judgment from family or friends. People might question their motives or assume the worst. That's why it's important to be sure that the relationship is truly built on love and not just infatuation or fleeting emotions. One of the best tests of any relationship is time. Time reveals motives. Time exposes whether a relationship is built on true commitment or just temporary feelings. If an age gap relationship stands the test of time, growing in faith, love, and respect, that speaks volumes. Look at the story of Jacob and Rachel. Jacob worked for 14 years to marry Rachel because he truly loved her. Time proved his devotion, and that's the key. Relationships should be able to withstand challenges, whether it's an age gap, outside opinions, or life's difficulties. At the end of the day, the real question isn't, how many years apart are they? It's, are they living out a relationship that honors God? Think about that. Now that we've uncovered what the Bible really says, or rather doesn't say, about age gap relationships, let's talk about something just as important: our response. How should we as believers react when we see age gap relationships around us? Should we judge? Should we question? Or should we support? Let's get real for a second. Human nature makes us quick to assume things. We see an older man with a younger woman, and suddenly people start whispering, is she after his money? Is he controlling her? The same happens when it's an older woman with a younger man. Oh, he must be using her. But wait, who gave us the authority to judge a relationship based on assumptions? Jesus made it clear in Matthew 7:1-2, "Do not judge, or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged, and with the measure you use, it will be measured to you." That's a powerful reminder. If we judge others unfairly, we invite that same judgment back onto ourselves. And let's be honest, how often do we base our opinions on what culture tells us instead of what God tells us? Here's the truth. If a relationship is built on love, respect, wisdom, and faith in God, then age is secondary. What matters is the heart of the relationship. That's what God looks at. Of course, this doesn't mean we ignore red flags. If a relationship is toxic, if there's manipulation, control, or selfish intentions, then yes, wisdom is needed. But guess what? That applies to all relationships, regardless of age. Whether a couple is the same age or has a big gap, the real question is always, is this a godly relationship? Think about it. How many relationships have fallen apart because they weren't built on faith? How many couples, even with no age difference, have ended in disaster because they lacked wisdom, patience, or selflessness? So here's the challenge. Instead of jumping to conclusions about an age gap relationship, why not take a different approach? Why not ask the deeper questions? Does this relationship reflect God's love? Do these two people treat each other with kindness and respect? Are they growing together in faith? If the answers are yes, then maybe, just maybe, we need to put aside our own biases and recognize that God's ways are higher than ours. And let's go even deeper. Maybe you're someone in an age gap relationship right now. Maybe you're facing judgment from others, or maybe you've even questioned your own relationship at times. Here's what you need to remember. At the end of the day, it's not about pleasing people. It's about honoring God. If your relationship is built on truth, love, and faith, then let that be your foundation. But if you're unsure, if you're in a relationship that feels imbalanced, forced, or unhealthy, then be honest with yourself. Seek God's wisdom, pray about it. The Bible tells us in James 1:5, "If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given him." God is not the author of confusion. If a relationship is right, there will be peace, growth, and mutual respect. If it's not, then no amount of justification will make it healthy. Now here's where I want to hear from you. What do you think? Have we been too influenced by culture when it comes to age gap relationships? Have we made judgments where we shouldn't? Or do you think wisdom says there should be limits? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's have this conversation together. And remember, when it comes to love, God looks at the heart. Maybe it's time we start doing the same.